the joker to the thief. There's too much confusion. Well, I can't get no relief, no. Well, businessmen, they drink my wine, and plowmen dig my earth. Oh, none will ever on the line. Ain't nobody, I bet it's worth. You better play it, mama.
Hey everybody, Tommy Norman, Nashville Blues and Roots Alliance here. I've got a great interview today with you, something a little different. I've got Norwegian singer, songwriter, and guitarist Tora Dahle, or as we call her, Tora. She goes in the band Tora Dahle, and she has been, playing. She's been on Instagram and kind of gained a little bit of notoriety there, but she's been playing all around Europe, known as kind of a pop rock person, but definitely is steeped in the blues. We have some great conversations about how she got her start, how she intermixes the blues into what she does, and all sorts of things. So it's a great conversation. Again, if you are not already supporting the Blues and Roots Alliance, go to bluesandroots.org. You can sign up to be a member. You can also check out giveaways and things like that we might have, depending on when you're seeing this video. It might be over yet, but right now, this is November. We're gearing up for the International Blues Challenge in January. We're going to be submitting some acts. Remember, we won it this year, 2024. 2025, we'd love to repeat. But we've got giveaways and things like that. The money goes towards expenses and things for the acts that we are submitting because it's a long week in Memphis and it's a lot to pay for. So if you can help, that would be great. It also goes to our Blues in Schools programs. We've got some things coming up. So always make sure you're checking back on the website or getting our newsletter to see what's happening with the Blues and Roots Alliance. And now, enjoy my interview with Tora.
She likes the way I make her scream.
Hey everybody, Tommy Norman here with the Nashville Blues and Roots Alliance. I've got a special one today. I've got Tora Dahle. Did I do it right?
Oh, beautiful.
Known as Tora in the band Tora Dahle. This has been one I've been wanting to do for a while. I found you, I think a lot of people on Instagram, and the tasty licks of the day, and I'm like, that is a tasty lick of the day, and I'll have to play that. What is she doing there, and figuring that out, and then got into your music that way. And so today I just, we want to kind of explore a whole bunch of things, but I always like to start off with just, how did you get in music? I know you have a musical family. I know your sister sings and things like that. So how does music get introduced to you when you're little?
Well, I think what you mentioned about my family is very important. So it was always music in the house, and my dad was always playing the piano or the accordion or the guitar, and in the weekends we went to see my sister sing and do her thing. Uh, so it was just always music in the house constantly, and I think it got to a point for me personally where I was like, I think I've had enough of it, and I was like 8, and I was like, I want to do something completely different. Um, but it was always there, so and also I think I was kind of born with some sort of musicality, um, which I'm really grateful for. So it's just a thing that was always there, and I'm lucky that way.
And what type of music were you surrounded by? What was your dad playing and listening to?
Yeah. Well, my dad was kind of playing like this old type of Norwegian style music that you would dance to, right?
Hmm.
But he also used to play in the church. Not that we are religious in any way, but on the organ,
Hmm.
church organ. But my sister is a jazz singer and a soul singer, so there was a lot of jazz and soul in our home, and that was kind of what found my heart. I think the soul music. Yeah.
Right. Is there music that I know when I grew up, my dad listened to what I said was old timey music
Yeah.
and marching band music and Crystal Gale and Engelbert Humperdinck and music that I like didn't speak to me. And then later I started kind of realizing like some of that music was pretty cool because he had, Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass and he had Harry Belafonte. Is there any music that you thought was like really uncool at the beginning and now you have a better appreciation for it?
Yeah, definitely. I don't really know the name, but as you mentioned, like this old type of music that sounds kind of simple. Like if you're playing the guitar, like ta, 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 just that thing is so hard to play. And my dad is so great at it. And he was like, it's all about your timing. It's all about your timing, constantly, constantly. It's timing, and it has to come from your heart. So you need to practice the simplest things. And so I did. And now as I've grown older, I've realized how important that actually is, and how many musicians doesn't do that, especially guitar players, because we have a tendency of wanting to play massive guitar solos as soon as possible, right? So yeah, I've learned a lot from my dad and his taste in music, definitely.
And so was that it almost sounded kind of polka-ish a little bit on the one,
Right, right,
very
right.
much on the one. Uh,
Yes.
I'm from Nashville and although I'm from Nashville, I do not like country music. And one of the problems I have with country music is I'm a blues guy, so I'm a shuffle,
Yeah.
on the two and a four and going into country, which sometimes has the accent on that one a little bit,
Yeah.
it throws me off. You're right. You have to, to learn timing
Yeah.
is a very essential thing and learning a whole different style of music that has a completely different style of timing like that or like reggae or something like that where the beats
Yeah.
are different. Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And I think that's the most important thing. It's the rhythm and the timing in music, and listening and learning. Yeah.
Well, and also, my dad, for most of his life hated all the music I played because I played rock and roll and blues and loud music. And the
Yeah.
way I appealed to him is he loved a little bit of jazz, not a deep jazz guy, but he liked Louis Armstrong a lot. And so I would learn how to play the horn parts on guitar to try to impress him. But that also helped me with phrasing because, especially when there'd be like three horns kind of intertwining in there and things like that. And I
Hmm.
know I've heard you talk about before about the importance of being able to sing a solo. In
Yeah.
fact, sometimes you actually are singing your solo. You're doubling yourself when you're singing, kind of
Yeah.
like a Jackie Vincent type thing.
Mm.
Uh, what influenced you to kind of explore your solos that way? You said it yourself. Sometimes we just want to play fast and show off. How do you make sure that solo is one you can sing?
Well, first of all, I don't know how to play fast, so I have to impress in other ways. So I have to get creative in my playing, especially when it comes to posting videos online, because they have to be kind of short. So it has to be short and creative and interesting. Uh, but anyway, I do think the fact that I am a singer and I am a songwriter is something that really, really affects my playing. I think about guitar playing maybe differently than someone who just plays the guitar. Not that that's bad or whatever, but I approach the guitar, and if I am going to play a guitar solo, I think really dynamic, and I want to tell a story, and I try to keep it as a conversation, and that's not easy, and I'm not brilliant at it, but that's what speaks to me
Right.
when I hear a guitar player is having a conversation with me. Then I listen. But if I can hear that this guitar player is just playing the lick he learned last week, and he can put it in here, yeah. So I do like to be kind of vocal in my guitar. Yeah.
So who were some of your influences early on, specifically around guitar to play that way?
That's the fun part. I didn't really listen to guitar players at all, and I still really don't. I I did discover John Mayer when I was like 15, 16 years old, and I did listen to him a lot. But I listened more to singers,
Okay.
and I tried to play what they were singing. So Michael Jackson was my main inspiration, and he's the man. So if when people ask me who I listen to, it's Michael. It's always been Michael.
Well, and it's an interesting thing. Obviously you have a lot of influences. Um, but your music that you mainly release is I guess pop rock is a good classification of it. But it has a very good pop sensibility, which is very much that Michael Jackson influence. And I was listening through the catalog and I can't remember which song, but you're almost doing that speaking part that he would do a lot of time at the beginning of
Mhm.
songs,
Yeah.
like like Pretty Young Thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and then you have these guitar, these bluesish guitar influences in there as well.
Mm.
How did that all kind of come together? How did you say that's what I want to sound like?
Wow. Mm. I don't think I've ever really said to myself, like, I want to sound like this or that. I think what Michael is super blues. If you listen to his singing, it's super bluesy, and his songs are because the blues is everywhere,
Right.
right? So Michael for me is blues music in many ways, and if you try to play what he sings, you will find yourself playing the blues very often. Uh, so I think because I've listened so much to him, automatically I want when I'm producing my songs, I want them to sound Michael-ish. It just happens naturally. Um, but you know what? For me, when it all comes down to it, it if it makes people feel something, then I will do the blues bend. If it feels right, I will do it. If not, I won't. I'm not really thinking in genre or boxes or anything. Whatever fits the song, that's the most important thing, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, that it's interesting because a lot of times I think a lot of musicians you'll get inspired by something and it's hard you want to pay homage to that but you don't want to be a caricature of that or a copy of that.
Yeah.
um and so you kind of blend all these things together. um and when I'm listening to it, you hear all these kind of influences coming into it because I think I've heard you refer to like Joe Buck and like I've seen, and I don't know if this was inspired him or you just guys coincidentally, a lot of the sliding into notes and things like that I
Mhm.
hear
Mhm.
and some of those phrasings. But you've mentioned people like Alan Stone and the Brothers Landreth and all these different that are so none of those people would be considered the same genre, and you kind of all mash them in together.
Yeah.
Um,
I
how does that come about to oh, and I guess I'm asking the same question again, so forgive me,
yeah.
but you take all those influences and no matter what you play, it sounds like you.
Well, thank you so much. That's a massive compliment. Thank you. Um, you know what? Great musicians and great songwriters, I really look up to and listen to. I don't care about the genre, but I have a decent ear. My ear is way better than I can ever kind of play or sing or make. So I love listening to music. I try to listen to music as much as I possibly can. Because I remember when I was younger, I was pretty good at writing stories, like when we were in school and stuff. And my teachers always said, like, you write really well. And they said you need to read more books. The more books you read, the better you will be at writing. So I read so much from I was like 7. I read every night, constantly. And my writing became pretty good when I was like 14, 15. So when I started playing music, I thought, well, if I want to write great songs, I should listen to a lot of great songs. And so I have. And in every different genre. And I think I have a decent box of information and tools up in here because I've listened to so much, and I try to do that as often as I can. So I hopefully can write a masterpiece one day too. But yeah, it's a journey, right?
Right. So when you think about that and you're listening to all these different ones, is there a time, where you listen to a song and you went, oh man, that's the song I wish I'd written. That's, like, man, I wish I'd written that song because it's just such a perfect, song.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But usually, if that happens, I will start taking notes, and I will be like, "What is it about this song that makes me feel like that? Is it the chords? Is it the words? Is it the drums? Like, what part of this makes my heart beat faster?" And then I will usually try and make a demo with that element included and see if I can make something out of that idea. So I'm not copying the song. I'm just taking a few elements here and there.
Right.
And that has worked out really well for me. Stealing but not stealing, I guess.
Well, it's, I think it's great artists, good artists borrow, great artists steal,
Yeah.
but it's, an amalgamation. And like we said, then putting it through the process of it becoming you. Do you write on guitar, or do you, what's your writing process? Do you start with lyrics? Do you start with it, or does it depend on the inspiration?
Well, definitely it depends. Usually, like the way I practice guitar is that I have this folder with different drum loops, different tempos, and different, if it's swing or 6/8 or whatever. So I practice playing guitar over those drum loops. I never use a metronome because I find it soulless. But anyway, and I practice on it, and I don't play guitar solo. I play rhythm guitar, and out of that comes a lot of cool guitar riffs sometimes. So my latest song Sugar was written that way. I was just jamming, and then and if you listen to Sugar, my latest single, the notes in the guitar riff is super boring. It's like ba da ba da 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 ba da da da, like whatever, but it's the rhythm of it. And I think you can hear that I wrote it by playing over some drums over a cool beat. So that's my kind of rock and roll songs often come from me just jamming over drum loops, and I record them and it ends up being a song. And but when it comes to ballads and stuff, acoustic guitar works. I love that. Sitting on the couch with my dog, playing something minor. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of the latest single, which is it's a banger, uh,
Thank you.
and I think I can't remember who all you're playing. I saw a video recently. I think you went to the Andersons, or a bunch of guitar players got together and you guys all jammed to that song. That
Yeah.
was a really cool video of seeing everybody's kind of interpretation on that.
Yeah.
Um, but I saw that the inspiration of that was Sugar Pie Honey Bunch,
Yeah.
which is a very simple old song. So you were talking about how simple it is, but that's almost harder to write a simple song.
Oh,
You
dude.
know,
Whoa. I mean, writing a chorus, that's the most difficult thing that I do, because I'm so critical to choruses, because that's kind of like the conclusion of the song. And to be able to write a catchy chorus, that's an art. And I'm really trying to get into that and figure out how to do it. Um, but yeah, to write something simple, it can be 2 or 3 chords, but make people want to sing along or they will remember it. Whoa, not easy.
right. Well, and it's a lot of times you get caught up in the technicality and you're adding layers and you're adding
Yeah,
this and you're adding that,
yeah,
and you could get too cute or too clever.
yes, yes.
If you can't take that down to either just the chords on piano or the chords, playing it on guitar and
Yeah,
singing, and it still have that same impact, you
yeah,
know, you can still make great songs that way. They're kind of manufactured a little bit though. But the
yeah,
ones that really
exactly.
stick to you are those simple songs like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I have failed sometimes because I have tried to outsmart my listeners or my audience. I have written songs and released them, and I've been like, this is a masterpiece, but people won't get it. People won't get it, right? Because I'm so smart. And they didn't get it because it's nothing. It's so bad. And I tried to outsmart them by making something complicated, and when I could have just kept it so much simpler. And I've learned so much from writing songs like that. Just strip it down. What are you actually trying to say? Let's start over.
Well, and you can fall into that trap because I would consider you like a musician's musicians. Musicians know what you're doing and respect you and go, "Ooh, I like that."
Mm.
But we're a small percentage of the crowd. Now in Nashville, it's a lot of the crowd. Nashville's known for all the guys
Right,
that play
right.
guitar sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
But like, even last night I went and saw a friend's band.
Mhm.
And they are a good bar band.
Yeah.
There's times when they were out of tempo. There was times where the keyboard player was playing the wrong chords, and then,
Yeah.
and the crowd didn't care. They were having fun. They were dancing. They didn't care. It's a
Mhm.
thing that we get caught up on
Yeah.
sometimes as musicians,
Mhm.
And it's not bad to have a complicated song, but again, if you could take like God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, with his
Mhm.
layering and all the crazy stuff that they did in that, and it's a beautiful song. But if you
Mhm.
just hear it, I've heard him just play that on piano, and it's
Mhm.
still a beautiful song.
Exactly.
You know.
Great
Um,
example.
so let's we were talking about guitar.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about your guitars ad nauseum, but it's a thing that, the gearheads that, sometimes watch these like to know. Uh, so when you were designing your Marceau guitar, what did you want to have in it? What were you like, all right, I've played Strats, I've played Tellys, I've played this, I've played that. How did you say, all right, if this is going to be my guitar, this is what I want to be in it?
Right. Here's the fun part about that, because and I think I've said this in many interviews before, but gear and guitars, I have never really been that interested in it. And I am so bad at it. So when Tom Mosu contacted me and was like, I do want to build a guitar for you, I want to make a guitar for you with your name on the fret and everything. And I was just like, that sounds kind of weird. Like, why would you want to do that? Uh, but I was like, sure, you can try. And he was like, how do you want it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. You are the one who built guitars. Tell me, like, how should I have it? And I just kind of told him how I wanted it to look like, uh, and like a few details and stuff. And he was like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna go for it, and I'm gonna make the guitar for you, and I'll send it to you. And I've been playing it ever since. So I'm gonna be honest with you, my friend. I will not go into details about my guitars because that's not my area of expertise.
That's fine. I had a guitar for a long time that I loved. Uh, when I was beginning playing, and people would come up to me all the time. What pickups are that? I'm like, I have no idea. I
Right,
don't know.
I
I
know.
don't. I don't know what they are. I just know what they sound like, and I like them.
It's
Yeah.
a That's a funny reaction. Like I usually just leave slowly. Like when people ask me, I
Well, I gotta be a little bit more of a gearhead. Like I said, I'm in Nashville, and I'm
yeah.
surrounded by gearheads, and they
Mm,
love the stuff. And a couple of really good friends of mine, that's what they do. They get online and they do reviews, like Rhett Scholl and Corey Cagilio and some of these guys. Uh, And there was something to it because like I remember talking to Corey, and I had a certain guitar and I couldn't figure out this, and he like, well, blah, 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 blah. Like there was something to it, but I'm
yeah.
like, okay, I just want it to feel good.
Yep.
A lot of it to me, neck is a big thing for me.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and a lot of people here like want the guitar to fight them. And I'm like, I don't want my guitar to fight me. I
No.
want to get something out of it. I want to push it, but I don't want it to fight me.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
good thing or a bad thing.
No, I totally agree. I mean, a lot of people says this, but it's just, does it feel right when you have it in your hands? Does it feel
Right.
like home? Can it speak your language and stuff? And my guitars definitely does. I don't have they're packed down now, but the guitar that kind of looks like a Telecaster,
Hmm.
it's beautiful, and it's set up in a way that it's the string gauge is 11 to 49, but the lower E string, the deep one, is 56. So I can drop the E2 all the way down to a B. So I can kind of play cooler rhythm stuff because I do shows on my own sometimes, and I can loop the bass part without bringing a baritone guitar because they're so
Right.
fucking long. Um, so, and that guitar is it's a guitar that I also can have in standard tuning, and it works like a charm. And I've kind of fallen in love with that now. I use that more than the black Strat looking guitar. Um, so yeah, it has its small details that I really love.
Right. And as I got older, a big thing was how much does it weigh? Because if I'm going to play a 3 hour gig,
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
want a 70s Les Paul my shoulder's gonna be broken by the end of it.
I know. And traveling with heavy equipment and stuff, like my back is already messed up, like so messed up. So the lighter, the better. That's what she said.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna skip a couple of gear questions because you don't care, and that's all right,
I
and
don't.
that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I do want to talk about so an interesting thing that I've been noticing a lot. You've seen a lot of kind of the talking heads on YouTube, the music talking heads, talking about things like the stat that came out, like there is no song in the top 100 right now that has a band in it.
Mhm.
Um, their, their overproduced samples, and things. And I don't, I actually, I love sampling. I love a song that's built from those things. It's a different thing. But there's kind of this lamenting of the loss of constructing a song in kind of a more analog way of
Mhm.
things being done. And then when I listen to your stuff, which is, I know you have some loops and things like that in there, but also
Mhm.
there's a lot of instruments that are being played live on there. There's, when you look at your albums, you have a lot of instrumentals kind of in between and things like that.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, when you think about the music, the industry side of music, obviously you're trying to sell your music. I would like people to buy my music. I would like it to be popular. I can make more money. I can make more music. Does that even enter your head, or you're like, I'm going to make what I want, and if people like it, great, and I can make a bit, business out of it. But I'm not going to worry about these trends. I'm going to make what I want. How much
Right.
does that enter in your head when you're constructing a song or constructing an album?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think the older I get, the less I care about trying to write a hit or be super, super successful. And the thing is, I am so proud of every single song that I've released, even though I wouldn't write them now, the old ones. And as I mentioned, some of them where I try to outsmart the audience. But anyway, I'm still so very proud of it. And I do think that every single song could deserve to be a radio hit, because I do think there's quality there. It's great songwriting. It sounds great. I spend a lot of money on people mixing it, making it sound the way I want it to. Um, so I'm super chill. I'm so proud of it that I'm like, I don't know, I don't care. Like whatever. If it's a hit, if it ends up being a hit, yeah, of course. If it doesn't, I'm like, okay, sure. But it's still a great song. It
Right.
should be a hit, right? That's kind of my mentality on it. And also that I have so much fun when I'm writing. I just love the process so much. And I learn so much when I'm writing and producing a song. So I become a better musician. I'm a better live artist and bringing new songs to my band. I love that. I just love keeping my project up and running and always trying to make something new and something better. That's why I want to do this. I'm not doing it for the success or whatever. And and these days I don't make money from streaming anyway. I make it from playing shows.
Yeah.
100% from playing shows. That's it. So it doesn't really matter.
Well, and that's, I have a lot of these discussions with friends. All my friends are in the music business, and so we talk about it a lot. And they lament the harmonization of music, and it starts to all sound the same. And because another thing I noticed is a lot of key changes in your stuff. There's no key changes in any of the top 40s right now, and things like that. Uh, but my point is okay, yes, music industry has changed, and that you know you can lament that that part has gone out, but I'm like, there's still great music and live shows everywhere.
Yeah.
And I live in a great town for it. Like, I have to, there's nights where I go to 4 shows a night and I'm missing 2 shows that I would
Wow.
love to go to. And I go, like, I went Halloween night to the Lady Maggie Rose, who I love, great singer. And but the band comes on before, never heard of, and had a couple of great songs. Like, man, I love those guys. And then in her show, Mike Gordon from Fish comes up and plays with. It's just, you know, I'm like, listen, if you're tired of top 40 and what's on streaming,
Hmm.
go out and listen to a local band.
Yeah.
Go, that's where you're going to see homemade music and music
Yeah.
made and played from the heart.
But what do you think is the reason why the top 40 sounds the way it does? Like what kind of happened there?
I I've heard some really good, input on that, and I agree with some of it. Is that it just became too easy to get all sorts of music. Like when I was a young man, and I'm not a young, I'm an old man now, but you had to go and buy the record, and and I lived in a small town. We had like one record store and a Walmart, and getting a record and having a record and taking it home, and the ceremony of opening it up and listening to either the tape or the CD or the album or whatever it was, there was ceremony, there was, weight to it.
Hmm.
Um, and also, albums that, music didn't come out as often as it does now. So you would be waiting the anticipation of that.
Hmm.
And now and also even just the mystery of the bands. Like, I didn't know who these people were unless you bought the magazines to read about them. Now
Right.
it's so readily available.
Yeah.
Music is everywhere. I can get it. You can tell me an artist right now and I'll go and in a second I'll have their complete thing and I can just it washes over me and it doesn't stick.
Right.
And so the music is made to be it's like, like you buy a TV now and then a year later when it breaks, you just buy another one and you don't even think about it. Like
Yeah.
when we were younger, things were made to last for a long time. And
Yes.
I don't know if that's truly it. I am not that's for
Oh.
smarter people to me. But I think the way we receive music is so just everywhere. It
Hmm.
got boiled down to the common denominator.
Yeah. Do you think this? I know you're supposed to interview me, but I'm just
It's all right.
finding this interesting. But because everybody can make music these days, right? Everybody can have a studio. Everybody can find loops and make some sort of a song and release it without any help from so-called professionals, right? Um, and it wasn't like that, like this back then. Like everybody could be an artist. Is that a new thing as well?
It is, and it's good and bad. So I
Yeah,
think
I
it's good
agree.
in that, hey, I don't have to go through this machine. There were gatekeepers. Like Nashville is an industry town. And,
Yeah.
back in the old days, they had what they called the Nashville Cats. There was like a dozen people who played on everything. And, and there was gatekeepers and you would only get access to certain things if these people let you go. I think it's great that now, if you're a talented artist, you can go on Instagram and post your stuff or YouTube and people go, wow, and they can discover you.
Yeah.
The the downside of that is that not everybody's a great artist. Let's just,
Exactly.
there's levels. There's different levels. There are people that I go and see locally who I love, and I think they're a great person. I'm like, I like you. Is your music something I'm going to listen to every day and put on my playlist? No, but I like you so much, and I love your passion. I want to listen to it. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's that X factor of somebody you listen to go, "Hmm, yeah, that's
Yeah.
something there. And
Yes.
it's such a small little percentage that have that.
Yes.
And then there's a wide that can probably make a decent living making okay money and make a living at it.
Mm.
That is good music.
Yes.
And so now I think what happened is that sea of good music got bigger
Yeah.
and that also maybe diluted, what is good and what is bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's smarter people than me, but that's what I feel like it is that it's sometimes too much music.
I agree. I agree with everything you said, and this might be a hot take, but anyway, a lot of human beings call themselves artists or musicians or songwriters um, too soon. It's not a protected title in any way. I think you can call yourself that if you've just studied music for 2 years, but you're not working as a musician. You haven't really spent the million hours practicing, learning, writing, playing shows, and it's nothing bad about it, but it's kind of unfair sometimes that everybody is a songwriter, everybody is an artist, and you have the small percentage who's kind of like devoted their life to it. It's their life's passion, and we have been so broke and lost so many hours of sleep because we are dedicated to this lifestyle and we're all in. You know what I'm getting at here?
There's some people who have no mileage. They have
Yeah.
a little bit of lightning.
Yep.
There's this old 80s movie I love called Crossroads, and it's about Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, and he's becoming a
Yeah.
blues musician. And he says, and the old blues guy makes fun of him. He's like, you got a little bit of lightning, but you got no mileage. And I think there's a lot of music out there that has no mileage behind it.
Yes.
And you can make perfectly acceptable music, but again, it's not sticky. You listen to it, and then a couple hours later, you probably couldn't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, the people that it's almost like journalism. So anybody can go and write a news article or a blog or an analyst thing, but journalists study and they vet and there is a process and a weight to the things they do to create what they create that's not there. And that's why I'm not saying somebody who just hears something and goes, puts it on it can't have a good point, but I don't think you're going to consistently, and I don't think you're going to get something very in depth from that you're going to get from true journalists. Same thing with true musicians. And it doesn't mean you have to go and study. Like I'm self-taught. and I'm a mediocre musician at best. Like I don't do musicianship for a living. At one point in time, I was playing in bar bands and enough drunk tourists tell you rock. It's like, I do rock and I'm going to do this. And then for about a month, I was like, you know what? I have this much talent and this much gumption, and you need a lot more of one of those things
Right.
to make this happen.
Right.
And that's also why I respect people who do, because you're right. It is playing to an empty room. It is, having to juggle a job that will allow you to go on tour for weeks at a time, and there's not a lot of jobs to do that. So then you're, scraping by on money and things like that. And your gear breaks. And you have to, it's the dues to be paid. And it does seem like some people just show up, casually write a song, it hits on TikTok, and suddenly they're a musician rock star.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And some of that is, there's a lot in this industry that's just luck.
Yep.
There's a bunch of people I know that are just fantastic musicians and they just haven't had that break.
Yep.
And so you do all of this work so that when that break happens, you are ready to do it.
Yeah. I agree. I actually started crying the other night because I watched a video on YouTube of the greatest Norwegian musician ever. His name is Stian Korstensen. And you can Google him. He played in a band called Farmers Market for a while, but he's like Mozart, right? He can play every instrument and he's better than all of us combined. And he actually, I didn't know this, but he was on tour with Jacob Collier for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, makes sense, but nobody's talking about that. Why isn't that all over the news? Sorry for my language.
That's all right.
And then I saw a video of him and Jacob playing in Oslo Spectrum, a big venue here in Oslo. It's like 10,000 people. And Stian was playing the accordion, and it's so good. And people were cheering his name. And he was like, and I was like, you deserve this. You should have this every single night. Every single night should people be cheering for you. You are the biggest rock star we have because you are a genius, a musical genius. Why aren't we talking about you more? And I started crying because I felt like, it's not fair,
But
I was dramatic, but anyway.
No, I mean, but to your point, there are tons of people that I love that I'm like, I just can't believe nobody, listen to this. Listen to what he just said or what she just played or what that, but to our point we made earlier, music is almost kind of background for a lot of people. And that's okay. Some people, it's easy for us to talk about it because we're preaching to the choir. We're already in, but the people who are like, I'm not a musician. I just like music. I just like hear, and I used to be a musical snob. And I remember I was married at the time and I was making fun of Justin Timberlake and my wife at the time loved Justin Timberlake. And I was like, he doesn't write any of his own songs. He doesn't play any of his own instruments. She knew I loved Frank Sinatra and she goes, did Frank Sinatra? And I went, all right, that's a good point. He did not. He did not do any of that. And then, and then I had kids and my kids listened to all this pop, what I would have at that time thought this is pop drivel. And then I'd be in the car going, that's a pretty good song.
Yeah.
Britney Spears Toxic. That's a pretty good song. I like that song. It stays in my head. Yeah. And yes, it was constructed by Max and all these, Swedish guys, but that's a good song. But Eleanor Rigby's a good song too. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's, there's a great quote. I can't remember if it was Duke Ellington or Count Basie who said, if it sounds good, it is good.
Yes.
End of story.
End of story.
Yeah. Who am I to tell somebody that this is what you should be listening to and what you're listening to is drivel, because they're thinking the same thing. They're like, listen, I don't get Jimi Hendrix. I'm like, how do you not get Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
But they don't,
They don't. And that's fine.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
So let's shift. We got heavy there for a bit. That was good. That was a good discussion.
Yeah.
So let's get back a little bit in blues. What is the blues scene in Norway? If I come to Norway and I want to hear some blues, where do I go?
Wow. Well, it's a small country.
Right.
It's a small country. And for some reason, when I started out, the blues community was like, we'll take you. You're ours. Because we need you. We need a gay woman who's decent at guitar to be a part of our team because we're all middle-aged white guys playing the harmonica and 12-bar blues. So we need you. And I was young and I was so starving to be out there playing. And so I was like, sure, I'm in. Let's go. Let's go. So that's the reason why all of a sudden people called me a blues artist. And I take that as a compliment. But I've never really been that in the blues scene besides actually how do I put it? Besides the fact that they just took me in.
Mhm.
But I'm a pop girl. Like I'm a soul girl more than I'm blues. So I'm not really in the blues stuff right now. But we do have some great young artists that I am blown away. So we have this once in a while someone shows up and I'm like, whoa, you're from here? This is amazing. We have this Norwegian guitarist called Magnus Berg. He just went on tour with Gary Clark Jr., did support for him. He plays, you should look him up when we're finished. His playing is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. We're not talking about him either. Nobody's talking about him. And he's a genius. So we have some few of these young guys and girls who are magnificent. But it's not a big community. There's not many of us. And I don't know where you should go.
Right.
I really don't know.
You brought up another point, though, that I will divert to that. So it is interesting. So the blues community, is very tight, but they're also, it's interesting. They're very welcoming and also very protective all at the same time.
Exactly.
So you're right. I know so many people who at a young age pick up blues because it is fairly easy to kind of master some of the fundamentals.
Yep.
12-bar blues, pentatonic, and the songs are pretty easy structure to remember, the call and response. And so a lot of people start there, and to your point, they get embraced, especially if you're young, if you are something different, or sometimes if you're enough like the old thing that they want to see again. I want to see 1950s blues.
Yeah.
And I know so many people who got adopted in the community, and then they're like, okay, but I don't want to just play Muddy Waters and B.B. King. I want to play something different. I had a great conversation with Matthias Latine, who won the International Blues Competition year before last. And he was talking about, like, I love the blues, but I like other stuff. But the blues community kind of wants me to stay in this little box. And when I try to get out of that, they're like, that's not the blues.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because I work for a blues society, which part of our job is to preserve or conserve the blues. But
Right.
to me, that's not to gatekeep it. It's not to say this is what the blues can be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I'm a pop guy. I love
Yeah.
the blues, but what I love to do is take a pop tune and make it a blues song.
Yeah, totally.
And I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, what do you think the blues is? And they were kind of talking about, well, it's a simple structure. It's, 3 chords. It's, kind of talking about my woman done left me, and it's, typically African-American, da, da, da. I said, okay, so is Eddie Murphy's Party All the Time a blues song? Because it's got 3 chords. His woman left him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because I play that song, I like that song. I think, and it's a cheesy pop song.
Yeah.
But why is that not blues? And, B.B. King is. So when you think about like being adopted by that crowd, but wanting to do other things, let me change the question. Somebody comes up to you and says, I don't know what the blues is. What is the blues?
Wow. I did a master class a few days ago at this music school, and I talked about the blues. And there was mostly guitar players there and some singers. And I said, I'm going to play something now to a backing track that I hear a lot when people are jamming to the blues. Let's say it's a jam down the street at the bar and people are jamming. I'm going to play what I think most of you would play as a solo over a shuffle blues. And I played something. And I said, there's nothing wrong with what I just played. No wrong notes or anything. But first of all, I did not follow the chords at all. I just played a minor pentatonic, and it sounded decent, but I never followed the chords. Second of all, there was no story here. There was no dynamics at all. I just went all in at the first stroke, right? And I tried to, my English is not perfect, so that's why I'm kind of talking in codes, but, and I said to them, what you guys don't understand, you don't understand what the blues really is, and you haven't really studied it either. The blues is, oh, Jesus. It's only from your heart, and every single note needs to come from deep inside your heart. If it's not there, shut up, don't play. Take a pause and wait. Listen to the band go. Just listen to them. Where do you want to get? Where do you want to approach? And to be able to do that, you need to have so much experience as a musician, and you need to have decent control of your instrument. I think that's one of the most difficult things to do, is to play the blues. It's the most difficult thing to do. And I've been really, really studying Josh Smith lately, the guitar player. You know
Okay.
him?
I do not know him.
You-
I've got a list of things I have to look up after this.
Josh Smith, he's a legend. He's so good. And he does a lot of like lessons online and stuff, especially about rhythm playing. I love that. And his timing is beautiful. But anyway, where he talks about it, and I'm so into learning more about the blues now, so I can really explain to people what it is, and because my experience now these days with young kids playing, they make fun of the blues. They make fun of it, and it pisses me off a little bit. So when they are rehearsing in a band room, and I might be there to teach or whatever, and they'll be like playing the blues and be like, oh, boom, 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 like that. I'm like, no, you didn't even play it right. What are we talking about? Like, we're making fun of it. It's not cool at all.
Right.
And that makes me sad, because people don't know what it's really about.
Well, and that's what part of the Blues Society, what we try to do is get people re-energized about it. And we want to get youth re-energized. So we do youth workshops and blues in schools, stuff like that. But you're right. It's not cool music.
Nope.
What I think, helps is it's almost like I remember somebody telling me Pet Sounds is the best mixed album and has all these advancements, stuff like that. But also they were telling me this, when I was listening to it, was 30 years after it had been released. So I'm like, well, I hear this all the time. And they're like, yeah, but you don't understand. At that time, that had never been done before. Mm-hmm. So at the time that Robert Johnson is playing what he's playing and B.B. King is playing, those things had never been done. That was the coolest thing you could have at that time. It's now been forever.
Yep.
And it's seen as kind of hokey old people music.
Yes.
But I have a point down. I'll bring it in early. Part of blues is this braggadocious. I'm a voodoo child. I'm a man. There's this braggadocious thing to it. You've got that braggadocious swagger. You say you're this introvert, and then you transform into something different when you play and you're on stage. But you have that kind of braggadocious style, and you can see that go from blues into rap into hip hop. Mm-hmm. So that's one element that I could say, okay, you see this that you like in all of this hip hop things and rap now. Mm-hmm. That came from here. Mm-hmm. And you may not like where this came from, but can you see the lineage of what came mm-hmm. before it?
Yes.
So to that point, let's ask about that. So this persona of you when you are playing, it is, it's very, you're very confident in yourself. It's got some intimacy and some sexuality to it. Where did that come from? Did that just kind of naturally happen, or is it like you shift into a different person when you get on stage?
You know what? I think it started out with watching Michael, obviously. The way he dances, the way he moves, the way he's just in the music. He was asked once, why do you grab your crouch when you're dancing? And he's just like, I don't know. It just happens. I follow the music. And I believe him. Because you can see it. It's just like, right. It has nothing to do with sex at all. I think I love to dance. And I think my confidence and all of those things are just because I'm so not confident in every other aspect in my life. But when I'm on stage, I'm home. It's where I'm safe. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like people should respect me. I feel like I have something interesting to say. I feel really safe up there. I think also subconsciously, it has something to do with me being a woman and being up there and being super sensual and singing about sex, singing about other women, kissing them, all of those things. Why can't I do that? And I remember I got a review on an album that I did in a newspaper where they were like, maybe she should start singing more about something else soon. Why is it so much sex in here? Or something like that. And I was like, have you listened to Bruno Mars' latest album? Every single song is about making love to a woman, and it won a Grammy. So it is because I am a woman. That's why this is a problem, obviously. And also the way I dress sometimes is a problem. And I like to provoke. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do because it forces people to think. It challenges them and be like, what is going on? She's playing a blues guitar solo, but what is she wearing and what is she singing about? This doesn't make any, it's something different, I think.
Right.
And I love to be up there and watch people's faces go like, this is not what I expected. This is not her Instagram profile. This is, this is something else. And I love to do that with respect. And like, I'm not taking my clothes off or anything, but it comes so naturally. And I think
Right.
it has to, it's a fight inside of me, like some anger and it's a drive that just keeps going, I think.
Well, and there's a couple of things I want to pack in there. One is that, first of all, it is genuine. It's not posing. It's not
No.
doing it just to do it.
No.
It is to your point, why is Michael Jackson doing it? Because that's what he just felt. And you can
Yeah.
tell that that's what you're feeling and you're into it.
Yeah.
And that's an appealing thing. Like you could tell when somebody's just going through the motions and doing it to kind of sell a little sizzle sells the steak.
Yeah.
The other thing, especially, to bring this back to blues, like people forget that like in the early, 1900s, you had Gladys Bentley, who was a huge, Harlem, blues and jazz singer who was a gay woman who dressed like a man and, in Top Hat and Hills, Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, Sister Rosetta Thorpe, all these people we pay homage to say, oh, these are the queens of the blues. All of them were gay.
Yeah.
And then there's a shift and it becomes more male dominated. And to your point, when you listen to blues songs, it's either about sex or killing somebody, I mean, so it's, and the second someone else starts to emulate that's not necessarily that stereotypical thing, it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
yes.
and that's okay. I am a 53-year-old cisgendered straight white middle class man. There's you can't even call me a name and hurt my feelings. But I have children who, as we, you and I talked off, before we got on here, that are all the LGBTQs. And so I have through them learned to be uncomfortable with something. Not that I, just because I don't understand it. Like I was raised in a small Southern town. I don't know these things you're telling me. And then when I'm uncomfortable, I can either be curious and say, well, I want to know more. I want to empathize. I want to understand. Or I can push it away and, and be fearful and be angry. And the thing that has helped me and the thing that I have really respected about this approach you have of being unapologetically you is my kids all the time say, I don't see myself anywhere. I don't see it in music. I don't see it in movies. I don't read about it. And a lot of times people that are on TV talking about it are telling me I'm wrong and I shouldn't be allowed to exist. And I think it is so important to have representation. So I love that you wear it on your sleeve and are like, listen, I'm not doing anything anybody else is. I'm just not doing it the way you're used to. And it's okay if it makes you uncomfortable. Just please be curious about it.
That's, yes, 100%. I got some chills while we were talking about, but that's the thing. I same as with your kids and with myself too. I'm 30 years old now, and I didn't see myself anywhere. And I still feel that often, that I like, but where am I in all of this? Like, and why am I the freak? Because I stand out in this community. Like, I'm not going to attack the blues community. I think it doesn't matter what genre of music it is, but let's say it's the blues community, and I feel like a freak. Like, it's like, because I am unapologetic about everything that I do musically, 100%, because I believe in every single word and every single note, every single snare hit, like everything. So and people are, it's not easy. It's not easy. You have to be, I have this, I explain it like this, on the side of my eyes. What do you call it?
Blinders.
Blinders, right?
Never,
Thank you so
never
much.
read the comments. Never
Yes,
read the comments.
and never listen to in the audience who scream something about me, because that always happens, always, always, always. And I'm just like this, and I'm so used to it now that I have these really cool responses to every single that gets thrown to me. I've been doing it for so long that I know exactly what to say. So now it's just like on autopilot. But it's, I think I really hope that there are some kids out there who sees what I do and finds it inspiring and helps them to kind of more blinders and just go for it. Just go for it. It's not, it's your life. Let's go.
Right. Well, absolutely. And for someone to say, here's a song, talking about things in a way I feel them.
Yeah.
And some of it just may be, hey, I have feelings for a person like that too. Or it could be like Army of Rainbows, which is a very specific song to say your support, like it's speaking directly to this community.
Yes.
And all those are great. Even if it's just not a song, it's, like Sugar is not a protest song or anything like that, or but it's something that somebody can listen to and go, all right, I get to see myself in that song,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't see myself in the Bruno Mars song, which is perfectly fine.
Yes.
But again, for me, most entertainment is made for me,
Mm-hmm.
a straight white male,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I see more of the other part coming in, I should be okay with letting that go. I got a lot of it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from the movies that I like and the things that I have. They're still going to make plenty of Marvel movies and John Wick movies for me. And ain't nobody stopping that. It's okay if these other things come in and there's equal voice, to where I don't want, a couple of generations people will even question it.
That's it. Because what I do think that some people are afraid of is, if the louder we get and the more art from us that's coming out, people will be like, but you're taking something away from us. And we're not
Right.
taking anything away from anyone. That's not what we want to. Like,
Right.
if we say we want to have the right to get married, that doesn't mean that we don't think you guys shouldn't get married.
Right.
We just want the same rights.
Right.
We don't want to take away anything.
Well, especially in music, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like if you're making more of it, somebody's making less of it. No, there's
No.
still all sorts of music being made. There's still plenty of people who are making traditional blues music. And that is perfectly fine. And some of them are making traditional blues music and putting their own spin on it. And some of them are just a more modern twist. I love Kingfish. Chris, he's one of my favorites. Just saw him at the Ryman here. He was doing the Jimi Hendrix thing, and it's him and Matthias Latine, the triplet, all, and Mac McDonald, Stephen Hall. There's all these guys that are doing that, but they also, and they can do that. I can sound just like B.B. King if you want me to. I can sound just like Steve Ray Vaughan if you want me to, but I can also do more.
Yeah.
And so that's always going to be there.
Yes.
And it isn't great to hear these new voices, these new things that are out there that maybe don't look like the thing you're used to, but the spirit is still there.
Yes.
And if that makes one other person embrace the music and embrace that, artistry, we should celebrate that.
Well, we
Absolutely.
should. And definitely, I mean, my experience now is that the blues community wants to welcome more younger people in. They want younger people in the audience and also on their stages. And if they want that, then the core audience needs to open up a little bit more and welcome us and be like, this is interesting, because here are these young people who respect the blues and want to kind of take it to a different level or a new style or whatever.
Right.
That should be a positive thing. If they want to close down, it would just be them. The young people won't come. We won't come. We need to see ourselves on those stages if you want to go and watch the show.
Yeah. I mean, preserving blues doesn't mean it needs to look like 1950s blues.
No.
And I 100% agree. And that's why I like to do interviews like this. And I did an interview with, I don't know if you know, Jackie Vincent. She's a guitarist out of Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And I like both of you for a lot of the same reasons, because she is kind of pop rock, but with a very blues influenced. And I hear a lot of influences between you guys. And I interviewed her for the exact same reason. You know, some people might say, well, that's not really blues. I'm like, it is. You know, it is this generation's version of what that's going to be. It is
Yeah.
inspired by the same things we talk about, you know,
Yes.
when you trace it back, you know, yes, you know, you might have been inspired by John Mayer, but where was John Mayer inspired from? He was inspired from B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Robert Cray and all these people. And,
Yes.
you know, I started as a metalhead in the
Hmm.
80s, you know, and hair metal, and I listened to, you know, Warrant and Winger and, you know, Cinderella. But then I listened to them talk about, like, you know, Zeppelin. And so I went
Yeah.
and listened to Zeppelin, and then you hear Zeppelin talk about Robert Johnson, and you go, ooh, and you follow it back and you discover that.
That's it. Exactly. And because John Mayer listened to B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan and these guys, I went and listened to them and I learned from them. I wouldn't have if I hadn't listened to John Mayer first,
Right.
because that's kind of how it goes. So I'm listening to all the amazing blues artists because of my idols told me to.
Right.
Right. That's it. If he hadn't said it, I would just be listening to Beyonce and Timberlake and Jackson, and I would have never gone back. Right.
Right. And
So it's a
and
good thing.
and all that music, when you peel it away, you'll find elements of jazz and blues in there.
Yes.
You know, it really is, modern music just has these roots, you know, just firmly in there.
Mhm.
And it may sound completely different. You know, the outside looks completely different, but that foundation is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You know, and
Definitely.
of the elements, like we even said, even if you're listening to hip hop, which only has a beat and a sample, and there's no live music being played, there's no four chord, you know, three chord blues being played, that braggadocious style, the call and response came directly from the blues.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, when I hear a really tasty solo, and this is the part I love about your solos, and you've talked about it before, which is a very John Mayer thing and a very B.B. King thing of the mixing major and minors.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
playing in that and then sliding into kind of that major and going, ooh, that's not the note I would have normally thought you would have gone to, but that's a cool note.
Right.
Yeah, I really love, like, when you're playing over seventh and you slide down into this, you know, instead of going to the back to the root, when you
Yeah.
go, when that comes, you go to the seventh or anything like that. And I'm not a big theory guy, but
No.
I watch Rick Beato, so I think I am. So,
Yeah.
there is a thing to it that you go, oh, you know, that is so cool. And you know, again, it's nothing new. B.B.
Nope.
King was doing it
Yep.
70 years ago.
Yes.
You know, and before him, Leadbelly was doing it and things like that. And so I think it's a thing that we were talking, to go back to what we were talking about before, why is it not respected now? Is because it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not new. And it's so, you know, you forget what it was built on. We forget that this thing at one point in time never existed,
Mm.
and a small community of people built it,
Hmm.
you know. And now it's, you know, it's almost so ubiquitous that you forget about it.
Yeah. That's true. That's so true.
All
Wow.
right. So we went all over the place today. I
I love
really
it.
appreciate your time.
I
What's
love it.
next? What's coming up? So, you know, is Sugar kind of leading us into a new album?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is. I have many different projects right now. Some are kind of secret, so I can't say, but definitely new album out next year. I have no choice because we already started booking the release shows, so I have to finish the freaking album, and I will. What that will be like, I don't know. I feel free and I feel inspired. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Also, I just started a trio, which is for me to challenge myself with two of my favorite Norwegian musicians. We have our first gig in 2 weeks, so I'm nervous and excited.
Is it a different kind of thing, different type of music? Are we going to see something different from you in there?
Yeah, the trio now is just starting out, so now it's more cover music, and I do my own twist with them. And some of my songs in a trio setting, I'm just having fun. It's for me to push myself and practice more guitar because I have to do that if I'm playing in a trio.
Yeah, you have to fill everything in.
Exactly, and I have to sing, and it's like hell on earth, but I will try my best. And we are going now to Germany, I think maybe in 2 weeks as well, with my band and my songs. First time in Germany, really excited. And next year I have a big project that I can't say. But yeah, we have some things to do, and I'm grateful and I'm
Good.
happy. Yeah.
What do we need to do to get some American dates?
That's been my goal for many years. Turns out it's not that easy. Especially with my band, because we are like 7 people when we are traveling. Lots of equipment, like so much equipment. So it's so expensive for us to do that.
Does the trio maybe make it over here?
I have some plans.
I know some people in some venues. We can work something out. Yeah, we get you some Nashville dates.
I would love to go to Nashville, and before I die, I will definitely go to the US and play. But for now, it's just so much happening right here.
Right.
I just need to, check some boxes, and I will be on my way. I promise.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I actually was in Europe a month ago, and I was trying to see if there was dates of different, like here's artists that like you being one of them, so a couple of other artists that I know in Europe that I'm like, and it didn't work out. What was funny though is I was in Bordeaux, France, and a band from Nashville was playing there, and I'm like, well, I didn't come here to see people I already know.
That's a bummer.
I wanted to see all these other artists and things like that. But it was really cool because it is interesting to see the European mindset and the approach to music, because it is different.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, not to always bring it back to the blues, but we are the Blues Foundation. But what's interesting is that Europe has a different types of fascination with the blues than America does.
Okay.
They don't take it as much for granted because it wasn't born there. It's not ubiquitous with them. It also doesn't have, like in the States, it's tied to a bad part of history as well. So there's a stigma that sometimes it's harder with there. And I have so many friends, Mac McDonald and a couple of other people who have done these European tours where he's like, it's so great to go over there. It's a small blues community, but man, do they love what we do.
Yeah. Oh.
Because they don't have it a lot over there. And so there's a lot of, musicians here that are probably regional and have a hard time getting gigs and stuff like that, but they'll go over and get a whole booking of festivals in the summer and little dates at little blues and jazz clubs in Europe because I guess it's just more rare to see what they would consider authentic blues.
Right. Interesting. I like that. I agree with you. We do really, really, really enjoy the blues, and we are a weird small community, but we are really respectful to the genre.
And it's an interesting thing because so the International Blues Challenge is held by the Blues Foundation every January. And then part of what we do as a blues society is we submit bands and all the bands, and it's like over 200 bands compete. This year we won it. Our band, Piper and the Hard Times. You can go look up now. Now you have some homework.
I will.
Piper and the Hard Times was our winner, and I like them because they are kind of a traditional blues band, but they integrate a lot of different elements. It's not mainly guitar focused, although Steve Egan, the guitarist, is a great guitarist. It is band focused. But I want to do when I go there and I meet all these bands, like there was a pedal steel player from Italy who was amazing. I met all these people. And I would love to do, and this might be a thing I reach out to you and we do in the future, of when we do a blues in schools, of doing a Zoom call. And I have some friends in Turkey. I have a friend in Nepal who does traditional like Bucka White, blues, but he sings it not Nepalese, and it's so beautiful.
So cool.
So I'd love to do like an international of here's what blues looks like. And all these places you would never have expected to see blues music thriving.
Cool. That's a great idea. You should do that.
So I might reach out to you in that. You could be the Oslo Norwegian representation of that.
Awesome. I would love to.
Right. Well, thank you so much. We love what you do. Keeping the blues, but in expanding its genre and the representation. And I really appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you.
Absolutely.
salty, sweet, and sour trip. You better take me to Candyland.